Directed and co-written by Christopher Hatton, we are talking Raven's Hollow. And this is a story actually about Edgar Allan Poe. We've got William Moseley here who plays Edgar Allan Poe, and he is an army cadet. It's obviously a period piece, and he plays one of a small group of cadets which are travelling across America. They stumble across a horribly mutated body that is kind of strung up, and they decided to take him to the local town called Raven's Hollow. And there they discover a kind of sinister plot, should we call it? A sinister kind of presence that is kind of referred to as the Raven. Obviously this is full of Edgar Allan Poe references, and in this particular story our group of cadets that includes Edgar Allan Poe must uncover what's going on and try and see if they can kind of stop it with this kind of deadly presence that is there. Let's talk about what I think works in this movie. So this is a really well shot film. It's obviously a lower budget movie, but nonetheless it really does feel like a lot of care has been taken in its production and it's kind of the look of the film. You know, quite often the film will have like a monotone kind of feel to it, the colour kind of washed out to kind of really emphasise the scenes, but other times it will be sort of in colour and things like this. But just the general production value here is really high. It's a slow movie, but I think it certainly benefits, I would say, the first half of this movie, where we have this kind of slow build up, this kind of tension building, and this kind of mystery unravelling. Now, obviously, if you are an Edgar Allan Poe fan, you'll be able to kind of pick up the references maybe than those who aren't. But I still think it can appeal to those of you who aren't really familiar with Edgar Allan Poe. I don't think it kind of will shut those people out. So I think it's accessible for both fans of Poe's work and those of you who aren't familiar. I think can just watch this as a kind of a story and enjoy it as it is. I think the performances are great. The guy who kind of plays Edgar Allan Poe, I think, does a good job here of making seeming a very intelligent but maybe somewhat aloof kind of character who is at odds with his comrades because of this, which I thought was kind of an interesting kind of dynamic. But they still are a military unit to a certain degree as well. So, you know, we have these kind of shifting kind of like feelings of loyalty and allegiance between them, which I thought was kind of very good. I think the setup is excellent. We have, a few kind of familiar faces in regards to sort of character actors here. You'll notice one from Game of Thrones, I would say, that was particularly kind of memorable here. And there are some kind of decent kind of effects work in regards to some of the kind of these mutilations and the kind of set dressings with kind of like body parts and things like that, which I thought was quite good. And the actual kind of like the mystery itself, I have to say, is somewhat kind of creepy and and quite a kind of oppressive kind of feel to this kind of like presence that is in this kind of small community, and it's kind of quite a scary kind of idea here, which I thought was kind of quite good. What doesn't work for me, I've got to say, I think the second half is a little weaker. This is obviously where we get the bulk of the kind of like the action, so to speak. And to me, I don't think the script is quite as strong in that second half. I think kind of things happen sometimes they feel they're a bit kind of rushed and truncated. Other times I feel the movie gets a little bit kind of convoluted for its own good. And we get more of the more overt kind of effects in regards to this kind of, let's just call it the Raven. And I think it's a mixed bag. It's an interesting design, but I think some of the kind of the VFX buckle a little bit under the kind of the weight there, and I just don't think the payoff, so to speak, is as interesting as the setup. That being said, I think this is a really pretty decent movie for those of you who enjoy more of a slower burn, more of a kind of an atmospheric sort of style of horror film. I think, despite some reservations I have for the kind of the second half in regards to certainly some of the script, the first half more than makes up for it. And the second half isn't even that bad, it's just a little bit more muddled, I would say. But it really kind of gets a lot of points here for me because of its dark, muddy, atmospheric kind of feel to this movie. It's such a well shot film and such a kind of a well realised world in its kind of production. I thought it was really kind of a one that kind of draws you in. So I will give this one a 7 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.